Hey guys, Danny Johnson here, and today we're going to be replacing the thermostat on our Yukon Denali. This should be the same process for all of the 5.3 and 6.2 liter V8 engines. Now, it's a good idea to disconnect the battery. We're going to go ahead and do this with a 10 millimeter deep socket. And so, even though we're not really touching anything electronic, it's a good idea to do this. And so we're going to disconnect the negative ground cable here, just pull it up and move it out of the way. We're going to go with a GM replacement. This is the direct replacement for it. Part number on this one is 12674639. I'll put links in the description where you can purchase these. This is what it looks like. Now, the way GM sells it is all one piece assembled like this. So this is the way that it will come from them. Other part stores may sell just the thermostat spring part, which you might have to disassemble and move around. But this is how it came, and it was a little more expensive that way, but that's the way that they sell it. Now, very important, you need to wait until the car cools down. You do not want to perform this on a hot engine, and it can scald you with burning hot coolant and cause all kinds of problems. Okay, so what we're going to do first is disconnect the PCV system here. So when you push up on the bottom of it, you'll see it come up a little bit. Now we can separate it from this air silencer. So we'll just go ahead and pop this one off. And there's also one on the passenger side. And so again, we just push down. In this case, it's inverted. And so once you push down on that tab, you just slide it away. Next, we'll take our common screwdriver, and right here near the mass airflow sensor, you're going to see this little band clamp. So we're just going to loosen this up. And so as we loosen it up, we'll be able to separate the air intake away from the airbox. And so we do this just by moving this around, make sure that it's loose, and then we just pop it and slide it away. Next, we're going to go to the throttle body area, and there's another one of these clamps right here. And so we're going to go ahead and loosen that up. Now we can take this entire air silencer and just pull it away from the throttle body, and it comes out free. Now we're going to come to our bigger coolant hose here that goes to the radiator, and we're going to loosen the clamp. And yours may have the pinch clamp that you'll see later in the video too, and the other hoses. But we're going to go ahead and take a container here, and we're going to remove this hose, and we're going to drain a little bit of our coolant into it. Otherwise, you will have it completely spew out of the thermostat and the coolant temperature sensor area. And so we're going to catch what comes out of the radiator, do a little bit here. Now, we don't want to siphon it, or we'll just keep filling this bottle. We just want the level to drop a little bit. So once we get it down just a little bit to hopefully where the level's a little bit lower. So this is our thermostat here, and there's another little coolant hose here that goes to our degassing tank. That's the expansion tank where it shows you the coolant level. So we're going to go ahead and take a pair of pliers here. We're going to pinch the clamp, and we're going to walk it off. We're just going to set it aside over here, and then we can grab this hose and just kind of twist it off. Now this is where you will lose some coolant, so don't be alarmed. Try to catch as much of it as you can. Next, we're going to take a 10 millimeter socket, and we're going to come in on our 3 thermostat housing bolts. So we're just going to go ahead and loosen these, and it helps to loosen them each slightly, a little bit at a time. Don't just take one out, but remove all 3 of them evenly. And with this as well, we're going to lose some coolant when we finally get these bolts out, so it will start overflowing a little bit here. So that is the removal of our thermostat here. And on this clamp, you could do it while it was still attached to the car. Either way, we just took some pliers, spread the clamp off of it, and now we're just twisting the thermostat housing off. So this is our old thermostat housing here. And notice the gasket is not on the housing, it was left behind. So you want to make sure that you remove this, just peel it off. And you want to check the new housing that you get to make sure it has this O-ring. So here's our new one. You can see it has the gasket already installed. Everything's ready to go. So we're just going to go ahead and drop this down. I took a rag and cleaned up as much as I could, but that coolant level is still right there at the top. So we're going to go ahead and just set this down nice and easy. Line it all up so it's going the same way that we took it off with the hose adapter towards us. And next I took the 3 bolts and I put a little bit of blue Loctite on them. And so on these, we want to make sure that we start threading them evenly. And so remember, we're going into aluminum, so you don't want to put them in too tight. We're going to go ahead and just tighten these down. And as soon as you see it starting to tighten on one, go to the next one. And we're going to do all 3 of these bolts evenly. So we'll just kind of do a little at a time and just keep going back and forth until they start to snug down. Now, these are not in very tight, only like 11 to 15 foot-pounds, okay? So do not over-tighten these. You can snap and crack the housing, so just get them nice and snug. Now we're going to check to make sure that it's seated nice and flush, make sure no gasket is popping out anywhere, and that everything went in where it should have. Now we're going to go ahead and replace our hose here. We're just going to slide it back on. We're going to take our smaller hose and also pop it onto the little barb next to it. Using our pliers, we're going to put our clamp back down, and we want to line it up exactly in the same area where it was before. So try to get it to line up exactly where it was. If you unsnap it this way, if it has locked into place, just watch your fingers. It can pinch you pretty good. Same thing, we're going to line it up exactly where it came off of. Now we're going to add coolant. So this is the Dex Cool, and you want to pay attention. This one happens to be a concentrate, so we must add water. So we'll add distilled water in here, a 50-50 mix. So we're going to go ahead and take off our expansion degasser tank lid here, and we're going to fill it up first. And then we're going to come over to our radiator hose. So what we want to do is hold this hose up, and as we pour coolant into it, it will help burp the system. And so eventually you're going to see that the coolant level will be up in the hose. The coolant may even start to come out a little bit of the radiator, and our degasser tank over here too, we want to fill up too. And so once you're filling in all 3 of these places, without inducing any more air into the system, we'll go ahead and just slide this hose back onto the radiator. So you might lose a little bit that way, but that's the best way that I've found to get all the air out of the system. And then just make sure that the degassing tank over here is full as well. So everything looks good here. We're going to go ahead and tighten our radiator hose back down. Going to come over and just make sure that everything looks good on our clamps. Make sure we don't have any leaks at this point, and the system isn't pressurized yet, but we would definitely want to make sure there's no leaks at this point. So I'm going to go ahead and put the air silencer back in place here, and we're going to connect the air box, and then we're just using our common screwdriver to tighten down the throttle body clamp. We're going to tighten down the air intake side as well. And now we're going to just click our PCV valves back on. And now we're ready to connect our battery. So we're taking the negative battery cable here. We're going to put it onto the battery post, and with our 10 millimeter, we're going to tighten this back down. I like to twist the cable so I have a good shot on it and it's nice and straight. Now we'll go ahead and start the vehicle. Now that it's running, we're going to look for any leaks. So everything is looking great. Instead of showing 0, we're starting to get a temperature reading here. We want to turn the heater on full blast. This is going to help burp any air out of the system because you do have hot coolant that's going to go through the heater core, and if there's any air in the system, it might be trapped there. So we're going to go ahead and run it this way, and everything's looking good. Even when we turn on our transmission temperature, we have a reading there. I have another video that shows how to fix the temperature sensor for the transmission. That was another common one if you get code P0711. And so anyway, thanks for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. Please check the video description where I'll put all the videos that I've made on this Yukon. If you're new to the channel, please feel free to subscribe. And so just keep an eye on that coolant level now as you're driving around. Make sure that if it's gone down a little bit that you'll add to it. And if you have any questions, please put them in the comments. I'll do my best to answer them. Thanks, guys.